guys, welcome to Mod 2 on evaluating functions. So last time we were talking about recognizing functions. Today we're going to be talking about how to actually evaluate those functions. Again, remember last time we talked about how important it is for you to take notes. That's how you learn math, is actually writing things down. Your brain remembers things better when you can write them yourself. Also, the incentive for you is that you can use your notes on your quizzes and on your assessments. So it's very important that you're writing this stuff down so that you have it to refer to. Our agenda for today, so we're going to be talking about making a table for a function, evaluating functions, and then most of the rest of the time will be spent on real-world situations. So first we want to talk about function notation. So f of x is the same thing as y. Don't forget that we're starting a new topic, so you want to put tables and linear functions at the top of your notes and underline that so you can find it later. And you want to write this down. F of x is the same thing as y. It is said f of x, not f times x. We're not multiplying f times x. What we're calculating is a function that uses x. So if I can evaluate a function, I can do that by just substituting a value for x. So for example, if I'm finding f of -5, that's telling me to take the equation and substitute -5 for x. Well, there's already a negative outside of the x. When I substitute, there is now another negative. A negative times a negative is a positive, so that becomes 5 plus 1, which is 6. For this one, f of -2, again, there's already a negative in the function on the outside of the x. When I substitute a negative, now there are two negatives in there. A negative times a negative is a positive, so 2 plus 1 becomes 3. F of 0, I'm substituting in 0 for x. -0 is just 0. 0 plus 1 just becomes 1 there. F of 3, I'm replacing the x with 3. This time there's no negative to cancel out. A negative times a positive stays, and -3 plus 1 becomes. And f of 5, there's a negative on the outside. You're substituting a 5 for x, so a negative times a positive becomes a negative, -4. Make sure you have at least a couple of these examples written down to refer to so that you know what you're supposed to do later when this is asking you to try these on your own. Speaking of trying these on your own, would you pause the video and try this one all on your own? Welcome back. You should have replaced x with -3. So I am replacing x with -3. -3 minus 2 just becomes -5. F of 0, I'm replacing x with 0. 0 minus becomes -2. So far we should have gotten -5 and -2. F of 2, I'm replacing x with 2. 2 minus 2 just becomes 0, so there's a 0 there. F of 4, I'm replacing x with 4. 4 minus 2 just becomes 2. And f of 5, I'm replacing x with 5, so 5 minus 2 becomes 3. All right, now, what if I have different functions? They might be named something different besides just f. If I have two different functions, usually you'll see them named as f and g. If you have three, sometimes it'll be named f and g and x, or f and g and h. It doesn't matter what the letters are, it's all just different forms of the functions. You want to pay attention to those letters though, because that's telling you what to substitute into. If they ask me to find f of -2, they're asking me to use the f of x equation. Now we're going to see that we have an exponent, and you're going to see why I like to substitute into parentheses. If I'm finding f of -2, I am leaving everything else the same, and I am just replacing x with -2. Be careful with your exponent. Remember order of operations. That is not telling you to square your 3. Exponents come before multiplication. So I need to square my -2. -2 times -2 becomes +4. And then I multiply in order from left to right. 3 times 4 is 12. -3 times -2 is +6. And 12 plus 6 becomes 18. If they ask me to find g of 5, they're telling me to use the second function. G of x equals -5x plus 4. They're telling me to replace x with 18. So -5 times 18 plus 4. Oops, I'm sorry, that said f of 5, didn't it? I don't know where I got, I was using this. That should be a 5 here, and that should be a 5 here. So I'm finding g of 5, not g of 18. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25, and negative 25 plus 4 is negative 21. So you should have gotten negative 21 for that one. You pause the video and try this one on your own. Welcome back. For f of negative 6, you should have used f of x equal to 2x squared minus 3x, and you should have replaced x with, don't forget to substitute into your parentheses. That'll help you make fewer negative and squaring errors. Negative 6 squared is positive 36. 2 times 36 is 72. Negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. 72 plus 18 is 90. So you should have gotten 90 for that one. For g of 4, you should have been using the g of x equation. So that's negative 4x minus 1. And you're replacing x. So that's negative 4 times 4 minus 1. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. And negative 16 minus 1 is negative 17. So that's just more on being able to use function notation. All right, the rest of this lesson is going to be about functions in the real world. So we've got David here. He's earning $42 every week, working part-time at a bookstore. Usually I would tell you that per week meant we were looking at the slope, but we're only talking about in 1 week. So it's just 142. That sort of becomes your a-intercept or your y-intercept. So the amount that he earns based on the books is $42 plus the number of books that he sells. So we want to look at what we're given. How much does David earn in a week if he sells 13 books? That's telling you to find the amount when he sells 13 books by replacing B with 13. So we add 42 and 13 together and we get 55 for that. So he earns $55 in a week if he sells 13 books. Not a very good part-time job. You pause the video, same type of equation, different numbers. You solve this problem for Tony. All right, you should have used this equation that the amount that he earns based on the books sold, he must have worked there a little bit longer. He makes a little bit more money, and he earns $52 plus the number of books that he sells. Well, the amount that he earns based on 36 books is just 52 plus 36, and that gives me 88. So he earns $88 in a week if he sells 36 books. For this one, a plant is already 11 meters tall and it will grow 8 centimeters every month. The plant's height, h in meters, after x months is given by the following function. So we've got a height in meters based on the number of months the plant has been growing. The plant starts out at 11 meters tall and it grows 8 centimeters every month. We can't have an equation that has both meters and centimeters. That's why they've changed the centimeters to 0.08 here. So that's 0.08 meters. And now it asks me, what is the plant's height after 50 months? Well, x is our months. So that's telling you to find the height after 50 months by replacing x with 50. Multiplication comes before addition, so I do 0.08 times 50. And that gives me 4, so it's 11 plus 4. And so that plant is 15 meters tall. It's an extremely large plant. That's like a Jack and the Beanstalk situation happening here. You pause the video and try this one on your own. So same type of equation, two-step equation. The cost based on the number of miles was 6 cents for each. That's telling you that's your slope, so that's times the x, plus a y-intercept, a base fee of $11.75. It asks what's the cost, so we're finding the cost based on 50 miles. So that's 0.06 times 50 plus 11.75. I multiply 0.06 times 50 first, and I add on 11.75. And that gives me the cost based on 50 miles is $14.75. This is a very cheap truck to rent. They're not always going to give you the input. Sometimes you're going to be given the y or the output, and you'll need to pay attention to which one. So we've got this construction crew. They need to pave a road that's 208 miles long. What we're finding is the length in miles that's left to be paved. So the number of days is going to determine how much length is left to be paved. It starts with 208, and then they pave, so we're taking that away from what still needs to be done, 8 miles each day. This time we need to decide, are we being given the length or are we being given the number of days? It says if 152 miles of the road is left to be paid, that's telling us the length is 152, and I need to find the days. I replace this whole thing, remember that's the same thing as the y, with 152 equals 208 minus 8 times the number of days. I'm going to subtract 208 from each side. That's going to give me a negative, but that's okay. That's going to go away here in just a second. That gives me negative 56 equals negative 8 times the number of days. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 8. And so I find out that it takes 7 days for there to be 152 miles left of the road to be paid. All right, same deal here. Make sure you're thinking about, are they giving us the length or are they giving us the number of days? Because how this is calculated will look different. This time it's 11 days. So they're telling me to replace D with 11. So it's 208 minus 8 times 11. So that's 208 minus 88. 208 minus 88 becomes 120. So there's 120 miles left after 11 days. You pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, Abdul. Abdul is traveling the toll roads. So he has some sort of account. And in that account, he has $256. And he's going to be spending $16 every single time he has to travel on the toll roads, which is why 16 is our slope. Our starting amount is 256, so that's our y-intercept. The function is about the amount that he has left in his account after t trips. And remember, we're trying to decide now, am I being given the amount or am I being given the number of trips? Oops, gave you the answer on that one. I want you to pause the video and decide, am I being given the amount or am I being given the number of trips, and solve this one on your own. All right, you should have noticed that t was 8 on this one. So I'm replacing t with 8, which means over here this becomes 256 minus 16 times 8. Multiplication comes before subtraction, so we do 16 times 8 and we get 128. So that's 256 minus 128. 256 minus 128 is 128. So he has $128 after 8 trips. Now it says, how many trips on the toll roads can he take until his account is empty? What is that telling us? I don't see any numbers here. Well, if your account is empty, how much dollars is in there? Well, what that's telling you is the amount based on the number of trips. So I'm replacing the a of t with 0 and finding the t. So I'm subtracting 256 from each side, which gives me a negative 256 equals negative 16t. I'm going to divide both sides by by negative 16. And I find out that that happens after 16 trips. So after 16 trips, he is out of money. Sad. All right, you're done. This video will stay available on Haiku if you need to rewatch, and it'll be available on each skill for Module 2 and ALEKS. You now need to log into ALEKS and complete all the practice problems for Module 2 using your notes to refer to. Don't forget that if you get in the middle and you need some help, you can always click on explanation. It'll walk you through some steps, give you some answers, and then give you an additional problem that's similar. You can also click on the whys for more information. Don't forget that a big part of your grade are the quizzes that go with each module. Those will not pop up automatically. You will need to go to the homepage of ALEKS, click on the circle with the 3 lines, and click on assignments, and that will take you to your quizzes each day. Thanks so much. You guys have a great day.